It's the Draftsmen Show.
Hey, Stan and Marshall. This is Luca from Georgia. I was wondering if you had any advice for improving line quality. I just still kind of struggle with making my drawings look interesting with my lines, and I was just wondering if there's anything you'd recommend for trying to improve line quality, whether that's like exercises or artists to look at. Thanks. Have a good one.
Several things. Practice your lines. No, I mean, yes, actually, but different exercises. Like, it depends on what you're trying to improve. Are your straight lines not straight? Are they wobbly? Well, put 2 dots on a page and try to connect them and do that 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. Practice getting the feathering, right? So just do that over and over again, thin to thick, or filling in a large box with an even tone is also just being able to handle the pencil.
Yeah.
But some people have the issue where they put too many lines down. They're ghosting, or they're searching, right? Is that the term?
Searching line.
Searching. Yeah. If that's your issue, then maybe, I don't know, use pen.
You mean a classic steel pen, or you mean just a pen that makes a permanent mark?
Well, a permanent mark.
Yeah.
I think pencil sometimes gives people the impression that they could put something down and erase it later. Mm-hmm. But a pen seems more permanent, and you have to be a little more deliberate with it. You got to slow down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Peter Hahn's book, he says, only use pen.
Only use pen.
Through the duration of his book.
Because it's a commitment. Your line is committed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Circles. Make sure you're practicing with your shoulder and your elbow. Get the dynamic lines going. Don't use your fingers and your wrist unless you're getting those fine details.
Well, you've done a video on this, haven't you?
Yeah. How to control and hold and control your pencil. Mm-hmm. I don't think it covers everything, but it talks about holding and controlling your pencil.
Yeah, if you link to it, maybe that might be the best thing for him to go to.
Yeah, I don't talk about pens in that one. It's just pencil.
I'm doing an evening in pen and ink, introduction to pen and ink materials and techniques. Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me to give advice on line quality. It's like going to me for fashion advice. It's not anything that I've showcased positively. But there is a book by Arthur Guptill called Rendering in Pen and Ink that was the staple of the second half of the 20th century for the technical stuff that you would need to do for classic pen and ink steel pen materials and techniques. It's a good book, and Susan Meyer updated it, edited it in the 1990s or so, and that is the best book that is a collection of the wisdom that you need. She took out the stuff like that you can buy this for 29 cents through this mail order thing. And it gives you a series of exercises that may seem very boring, but those pages of exercise that you go from a thin to a thick to a thin line, and he has you do these many, many times, horizontal, vertical, and then you do them where it's a consistent thing, then you curve them, and you curve them the opposite way. They may look very rote, but they are also meant to give you such ease with your instrument that when you are then working on the other things like draftsmanship and cross contours and expressive technique, you are familiar enough with your instrument not to be hampered by the lack of familiarity. So it really just comes down to practice.
Yeah.
I just never practiced line quality, and I so regret it.
These exercises that we mentioned just now, they're all kind of boring though, right? Draw lines, draw circles, draw squiggles. It's who wants to do that? One thing that I remember I was doing a lot of that is a lot more fun than that and seems more useful is I would take Jeff Watts' drawings, he's one of the best draftsmen who's ever lived, I think. Like, his line quality is amazing. And I would take one of his drawings, usually a quick sketch, because that's where there's no like rendering or anything. It's just a bunch of lines, real quick lines. And I would try to copy his line quality. I would look at the way he drew like a deltoid, and it was like thin to thick, and then a quick little swipe into the arm, into the bicep or something. And I'm like, man, that's awesome how right at that corner, it's real dark and thick, and then it tapers away. And I would try to get that exact line and to represent a deltoid to a bicep. And that seemed much more real, like something tangible. It's like there's a purpose to me getting that specific line rather than just circles and squiggles.
Yeah.
And I would do an entire quick sketch, try to match it, and it helped a lot.
That makes sense. It's like a musician who has to practice scales. They aren't that excited about scales, though practicing scales, I'm told, is an important part of mastery. But then there are musicians that simply choose the guitarist that they want to be like, and listen to the records and even slow the records down. Stevie Ray Vaughan and his brother, so in love with those old blues players, and aping their style and aping it enough to where it becomes your own, choosing great line masters. You do not want to miss out on Degain. You don't want to miss out on Guercino. You don't want to miss out on, there's a whole bunch of them, but Albert Durer's stuff is a heavy woodblock line for the most part. There's so many of those great old pin masters.
Yeah. Pick your art parent for line quality and
just imitate a bunch of their lines until you feel like you own it. Then move on to the next one and move on to the next one. Eventually, you have, by imitating the grown-ups, become your own grown-up and assimilated each one of them.
And it doesn't have to be like the thing that you're working on now is your line quality. You can just inject it into your everyday stuff. Like spend 15 minutes before your drawing session just doing that for the next few months. And it's just 15 minutes a day. And you will improve. It's not like you have to spend all day working on your line quality. That's boring.
It could be counterproductive too.
Yeah.